Welcome to the Service to Syndication podcast, where we interview the biggest and most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, capital raisers in the world who have worn the uniform of this great country, those who provide services to our men and women in uniform, and other service-oriented professionals to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets to help you conquer your dreams and goals in real estate and to use this wealth creation vehicle so you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of generosity and prosperity. If what you desire is time, lifestyle, and financial freedom, you've come to the right place. We will bring to you the best real estate entrepreneurs who will give you the insights, the knowledge, experience, skills, so you can go out and crush it in whatever real estate asset class you desire. So grab a pencil and paper, sit back, and enjoy the ride on the Service to Syndication podcast. Hello, my servicemen and women and other service providers. Welcome to another episode of the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Cedrick Marlowe, and I am a U.S. Navy vet. Here on the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast, we interview the most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, capital raisers in the world, where most have donned the uniforms of this great country. We aim to provide the tool sets, the mindsets, the skill sets for you to achieve your personal and business goals while using real estate as a wealth creation vehicle to help you live a more successful, happy, and fun-filled life. I am super excited today because I have with me Miss Avriel DuVerney, who is a top-notch real estate investor and expert. Before I properly introduce our guest to you, I want to ask a favor of you. Please, if you get some type of value out of today's interview, if you get some type of insight, mindset shift, if you learn a new skill, new information, receive inspiration or motivation to go out and take some action to make some progress in your life, please share this episode with some of your friends. Send it to someone you know who might be or could be interested in real estate. Share it on your social media, post it on your wall, or share it in your stories. Help us spread our message while you help others. And for all of you who share this episode, again, I want to say thank you. Again, everyone, we have Miss Avriel DuVerney. She was born in Brooklyn, New York, where she was immersed by the overflow of creativity and entrepreneurial spirit as a young child, which ultimately cultivated her love for business. Growing up in the housing projects, she witnessed a lack of fair and equitable housing, the mistreatment of women, and immense poverty. She became determined to defeat the economic injustices, sexual assault, and inequitable housing through education, entrepreneurship, and enrichment. Avriel became a pioneer for the community when she volunteered and advocated against violence towards women for years through outreach, and when she began her career in 1996 with the United States Air Force as a sexual assault prevention and response coordinator. Her career and entrepreneurship ventures did not end there, however. In 2019, she founded Stone to Stone Solutions, a veteran owned real estate premium business solutions firm. She specializes in driving revenue growth and increasing market share through strategic analysis, partnerships, acquisition, retention, cost development. Avriel has been instrumental in developing and implementing effective property and stratagems to enhance companies' business practices. All right, Avriel, the first thing that I like to do with my guests is that I ask you to walk us through your real estate journey in 75 seconds or less.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. So, to walk you through my real estate journey, I started in 2017. I did not make it official to 2019 because I was in the learning process for 2017. Started in 2019, and here we are today, 2023. I am still in the real estate game. and I love the construction side of the business. So that is my real estate career in 75 seconds or under, I believe.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. All right. So, with me doing my research that I always do with my guests, I see you're a coach, real
Mhm.
estate investor, conference host, blogger, now, and I also found out a caregiver for your mom. Where do you find the time?
So is for me when I first started, they told me that I would get burnt out if I didn't find time. So I forced myself. So I time block. So every day when I get up, I have a schedule and I stick to that schedule. So anything that tries to interfere with that schedule, I don't allow it. Because at the beginning of my career, when I started with real estate, I was allowing everything to come in and just pull me off course. And so, because I'm a full time caregiver, I had to make sure that I was time blocking so I can stick to my schedule so I can get the things done that I need to get done for today. So to add to the list of things that I have, I just recently got my license. And so last year, at the end of 2023, I went to school and I got my real estate license. And some may ask, well, if you're an investor, why did you go get your license? I got my license because we were selling so much real estate. And for me, I thought it would just make sense for me to go and get my license. And so that way I could take out the middleman and we didn't have to pay all of those fees to a real estate agent. So that's why I went and got my license.
Yeah, that's a smart move. That's definitely a smart move. That's great. So, what prompted you to join the military?
So I watched my uncle growing up. Although my father was in my life, my uncle was very instrumental in my life as it related to finances, just doing things different than my mother and my father. My mother and my father completed high school and then they started working. My uncle went on to complete college and then he also started in real estate. So he was a very successful individual. And so I looked up to him, and so when I seen him going to the military, I seen the military help him take care of my grandmother. And I knew that I wanted to take care of my mom because I seen my mom working day in and out, working 2 and 3 jobs just to take care of me and my sister. Although my father was still in my life, my mother actually was working 2 or 3 jobs. So we were raised mostly by my grandmother. And so I said, when I got into the military, like my uncle did, I was going to take care of my mother. So I followed his footsteps.
Okay, I love that. I love that. So, how long were you in the military?
I served 20 years in the military.
Okay. So, at which point did you consider making it a career and why?
So I went in and I made it a career. So I sitting down and talking to my uncle and just trying to figure out what would be the best route for me because I also wanted to complete college and I wanted to prove to myself that I could finish school. And so because my mom didn't have a degree, she didn't have a college degree, I wanted to prove to myself that I could actually go and complete college. And so sit down talking to him, he told me the military will afford you the opportunity to go to college and they will pay for it with a GI Bill. So what I did was I signed up for my first 4 years because I didn't know because I had the option to do 4 years or 6 years. And so I decided to do four. And after my first 4 years, I just decided to go full throttle. And for the rest of my career, I did 6 years. And the reason that I did that is again, I seen my uncle really come in and take care of our family using real estate. So I seen my uncle take care of the family. I seen him go to school. I see him complete his education while in the military. So that's why I really decided to go and also to learn the traits that the military teach you.
Mhm.
I see my uncle with a lot of discipline. I seen him with a lot of tenacity. I seen him with a lot of grit to get over certain obstacles in life. And I wanted some of those traits so I could actually be a better person, doing things for myself and even for my family. So that was one of the reasons that I joined the military.
Okay, okay, got it. So coming out of the military, did you consider a post U.S. Air Force career, a job, 9 to 5?
I did. And I did, and I started one right after I retired from the military. And the reason I did is that we tragically lost my uncle 6 months after my retirement. And I was looking forward to him being my coach. And so after we lost him, I found myself on a whirlwind, and I didn't know how I was going to learn this business because although I was still serving in the military while he was doing the real estate, I would get bits and pieces of it, but not being able to really just sit down with him and go over different things of what do you look for? How do you, vet contractors? And so I used my degree when I got out. So I have I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and then I have a master's. I have two masters. I have a MBA, and I also have a master's in criminal justice. So I decided to use my master's in criminal justice, and I went and worked for a district court. And so during that time of the district court, I was not happy, and I just kept hearing God say, "You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing." So every morning I would get up, I would do my prayer, like I start off my normal day, doing my prayer, doing my devotional, listening to my worship, and driving to work. And I just felt awful. I was like, I don't want to do this, but I had to do something to try to figure out what it was that I was supposed to be doing and what path that I was supposed to be on. Because I thought, because I didn't have anybody to really teach me and I didn't know anybody, that I was supposed to just get a job now. And then one day I was driving to work, and it was like clear as day. It's like my uncle came, like he was sitting on the passenger side, and I heard him clear as day say, "You need to reach out to Purdue, and you need to find out what it is that you need to do, and I need you to do it today." So I went into that job, I turned in my badge, and I never looked back. So I didn't even start the day. I didn't even clock in. I didn't do anything. On my way to work, I heard him say that as clear as day. And I said, okay. I went to the job. I turned in my badge, and they were like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm quitting." And I never looked back.
Okay, I have to ask this question. Did you Was there an internal fight for that little bit of time between when you heard that and you actually getting to the job site to say, "Nah, maybe not."
Yes. So
It
I fought with it because the drive from my house to the court was about an hour and 10 minutes. So I was doing it every day. And so halfway there, again, like my uncle came, I mean, it was like he was physically sitting, and it kind of spooked me out at the beginning. But again, I was always telling him, just if this is not what I'm supposed to, just come and just help me get through it. And people be like, he didn't do that. I'm telling you, he did. So it was, I was fighting with myself because I was like, man, if you step out here, Avriel, you better have a plan. Because my mom used to tell me all the time, don't step out unless you have a plan B.
Mhm.
And I was like, no, I'm stepping out, and my plan A is going to work. There's no plan B. I'm doing my plan A, and my plan A is going to work. And I never forget, I turned my badge in, and one of the judges looked at me and she said, "You'll be back." And still to this day, I have not turned back. She follows me on social media, and she sent me an inbox like 4 months ago, and she said, "I am super proud of you, but we thought you were coming back." I said, "I told you I was never coming back," and I did not go back. And I think a lot of times we give ourselves options. And when we give ourselves options, we give ourselves a way out. So I said that plan A has to work or nothing is going to work. So I worked plan A, and I worked plan A, and I worked plan A. And even now, some of my friends, they look at me and they say, "I am so impressed because you never had a plan B." I said, "I've never had a plan B." And my
Mhm.
uncle always told me, when you have a plan B, you're not going to give plan A your all.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I have a saying, it's either plan A or plan A. That's it.
Yes.
It's nothing else.
Yes.
I love that. I mean, that is a very inspirational story to the point where I feel like just ending the interview right here on that on that alone. I'm pretty sure my listeners will definitely get something out of that. You know, reject the plan B. I had heard you know, Steve Harvey. I listened to him periodic. I used to listen to him a lot more uh, some years ago, but he said he doesn't have a plan B. It's just one way. That plan A. It's gonna work, or you're gonna fight to make it work. And I love that story from you.
And it's going to work. And I tell people that, I'm not trying to push my faith on anyone, but
Mhm,
I lean on my faith a lot when it comes to business. And God is the head of my business. He's the head of my life. And so when you put things in Him, and when you can hear from Him, you know what you're supposed to be doing. It's
mhm,
very clear on what you're supposed to be doing. And I knew that, again, this is what I had always seen. And I got, like, at an early age, I got intrigued with the construction side of the business. And so I said, hey, the fix and flip is the construction side of the business for me. And so I get joy going to the sites in the construction side. So again, when you lean on whoever you believe in, right? And you follow what is really your God given purpose here on this earth, you can never go wrong.
love it. So, I know you said it was you seeing your uncle and how he was able to take care of the family utilizing real estate, which has basically made you get into real estate. Um, so how and unfortunately, uh, you know, a few months after you got out the military, your uncle tragically passed.
Yes.
Um, how did you get into your first deal?
So my first deal is I got up on a mentor, and my first deal I got in. He walked me through the process. So my first deal was in Chicago because that's where he was
Mhm.
located. And
Okay.
so people were like, "You are crazy if you're going to Chicago. You don't even live in Chicago. You don't know that market. You don't know anything." And I've always been a risk taker, right? And so I never forget, I flew to Chicago, and well, I reached out to him first, introduced myself, told him who I was, and he was like, "Come on, I'll teach you." So I flew to Chicago, and I was flying in and out of Chicago just to learn the business. I was there
Mhm.
for a couple of weeks. I would fly home. I was there for a couple of weeks. I had a nurse that was taking care of my mother because I was determined to learn the business. And people were like, "Man, you need to find you someone that's going to teach you here in Texas." But it wasn't the point of me finding someone that was just going to teach me. It was finding someone that was going to teach me the correct way,
Mm.
so I wouldn't end up getting out here into lawsuits and not being able to complete flips. So that was my whole entire goal, is to learn the correct way. And so that is how I got into it. It was someone that had worked with my uncle before, and
Mhm.
he took me under his wing and he taught me how to fix and flip. And still to this day, we have a great relationship. If I need him, I can call him, and he's there for me. So that's how I got into my first deal.
Okay. Now, for my listeners, what markets are you in?
I'm
Are you
only in
investing
the
in?
Dallas market. I'm in the Texas market, I want to say. So I do most of my flipping now in Dallas because I love that market. So we have a couple flips in Dallas, and then we are moving a little into the Houston market. And so we have a couple of deals in Houston also. I have that used to be my real estate agent. Her and her husband, they do flips in Houston. So we partner with each other and we do deals with each other. So anything that we do in Houston, her and her husband are taking care of that. And anything that we're doing in the Dallas area, me and my team are taking care of it. So we kind of like tag team with each other. So, because for me in 2022, I was looking for more collaboration, because you can do things by yourself, but when you have a team of people, you can do more. So for me, it was more collaboration, but collaborating with the right person, not just with anybody.
Got it. Love it. Um, so I'm kind of familiar. I started out in the single family space. I did one flip, and then I started buying single family homes for rent to rent them out. So what class of assets are you investing in? Like, the okay, not necessarily what asset class, but I know that that's single family homes you're flipping, but what type of neighborhoods are you investing in?
So we have tapped into the historical areas, and people say, well, why are you in the historical areas? Historical areas, we love the craft of the historical. We were told that it was going to be challenging for us to get into the historical areas, and so I like a good challenge. So I wanted to tap into the historical area because the profit margins are much larger in the historical area. And so building relationships with the city, the historical committee. So those are the areas that we're in right now, because there are not too many people that are going to historical areas because they're scared. There's so many steps that has to be followed. It's The process is much longer in historical
Mhm.
areas, but the outcome once you finish it and your returns are much larger when you go into the historical area. So that's where we're at right now. Now we just got yesterday we had still I had two that came across my desk. I hadn't made a decision on them yet, but we had two that came across my desk that are not in the historical area, and the profits are still good, but they're foreclosures, right? So I think the thing about this business is when you get into a certain area, we build relationships with neighbors. And so when
Okay.
neighbors know that another neighbor may be having problems, now they call you. Hey, Avriel, such and such is having problems on 123 Main Street. You might want to reach out to them and see how you can help them. So the two that came in yesterday were referrals from flips that we've done in the past.
Okay. So referrals. Um, and now I know you said you're licensed.
Mhm.
Is there any other way that you guys are finding your deals other than those two ways?
hmm So we have relationships with REO asset managers inside that work with just bank-owned properties, because we all know that the bank does not want to own properties; they want the note,
Yeah.
right? So we're building relationships with REO officers. We have relationships with attorneys now. So bankruptcy attorneys, we've started to build relationship with, and people are like, "Well, why bankruptcy attorneys?" Because when people are going through bankruptcy, sometimes they are getting rid of the home. And so if we can step in and actually assist them with the home before it goes all the way through the bankruptcy process, then now that's another asset that we can have. And so we're building relationships with bankruptcy attorneys. We have relationships with divorce attorneys, because when people go through divorce, it's nasty. And sometimes when it comes to a house, they'll be like, no, you can't, no, we're not selling this house, and you can't do it without my signature. And so we deal with a lot of that. So we've built relationships with divorce attorneys. We also do a lot of referrals. So now that we've built the business up, people know the type of deals that we're doing. Most of the time, people just send me deals now and say, "Hey, are you interested in this?" And I'll be like, "Nope, this is my buy box." And what I mean by buy box, I tell them, "Hey, I'm not buying anything that's in this subdivision. I'm not buying anything that maybe in a cul-de-sac. I'm not buying anything that's a corner lot." So the buy box just tells the people that are bringing it to you what you want. So now they can only send you exactly what you're asking for, what you're looking for. So that's some of the ways that we are finding our leads. We are also building relationships with the auction individuals. And so people are like, well, why would you build relationships with the auction individuals? Because sometimes when you build relationships with people, like, this business is relationship driven. And
Mhm.
so building relationship with them, sometimes you can buy these homes before they even go to the auction. And so building relationships with these trustees, letting them know that you can execute and that you can actually move. That's what they want to know, because their job is to get the money for the bank. And so as long as they know that you can move and you can execute, you start building relationships with them. And once you perform, they'll start sending you stuff. So those are ways that we're building relationships in the community to actually assist and actually help people. And then we still do it the regular way. We build a list in prop stream and in batch leads. We go door knock. We send out mailers. Whatever we have to do to make it happen, that's what we do.
Yeah. Okay. So let's transition to your most recent acquisition. How was it purchased? Joint venture? Just kind of walk us through that process.
So our last acquisition, we use private money. So we use friends and family to purchase our assets. And so the last deal was a joint venture with my friends and family. And so that was a referral from a next door neighbor. And so we got that asset through a referral process, and I used my private money.
Hey, thank you for tuning in to the Service to Syndication podcast. If you are a military service man or woman, government employee, or any other service related professional, this is for you. I once was where you are. As a service member, I lived paycheck to paycheck. As a government employee, I knew there was more out there for me. I tried all the get rich quick schemes. None of them worked. Then a friend of mine introduced me to real estate investing. I am a commercial multifamily syndicator who helps those who have served in the military and those who provide services to our men and women in uniform and other service-oriented professionals achieve their time, lifestyle, and financial freedom by investing passively into multifamily real estate. If you know that this life has more in store for you, I invite you to tune into the Service to Syndication podcast to learn the tools, tricks, and concepts to help you achieve the time, lifestyle, and financial freedom that comes with investing in real estate. So go over to cobbscreekcapital.us. That is COBBSCREEKCAPITAL.us and schedule a call so that we can get to know one another and see how we can work together to help you achieve your goals.
Lenders to actually close that deal. So
Okay.
that was our last, and that one is closer to Houston. Our last asset is closer to Houston. So Shamika and her husband are the ones that's helping me take care of that.
Okay. Okay. Outside of your team that you have there in Texas, the couple, the husband wife, um, who else do you have on your team?
So I have a couple project managers. I have two project managers in Dallas. I have a contracting company also that I just started. And so we have two teams on the contracting company. So I am the GC for all of my flips. So I run and manage all of my flips along with my project managers when I'm not there. But I'm normally on site at least 3 days out of the week because it's my responsibility to make sure that I take care of my investors' money, right? So it's nobody else's responsibility. So I make sure that 3 days out of the week that I'm boots on the ground, and the other two, my project manager is there. And so that's my team. I have lenders. I alternate my lenders because I never want anyone to get too comfortable with me. So if I have to bring in a lender, which are my hard money lenders, I alternate them. I have appraisals, I have inspectors, and then I have my different trades. I have my plumber, my roofers, my HVAC, and my electricians. So we just have a good solid team, and as long as I keep them busy, they'll continue to come back and work. So that is my team.
Okay. So some of my listeners out there, they may be looking at this fix and flip business. Can you give them one, tell them how you came up with your team in terms of the trades and some tips that they can utilize to find these trades.
So when I was going through my training with my mentorship with my coach, he always told me that the most important trades are going to be all of your mechanicals, right? Because that can make or break your deal. So go out, build relationships with 3 plumbers, 3 HVAC, 3 roofers, 3 electricians. Um, and for me, I went out and I just started asking for referrals. So who are you using? I was driving through some of the communities that I wanted to be in, driving through some of those communities, and I seen some workers. Now I'm not the one that go up to and say, hey, I have a flip and I want to hire you to come, work on my flip. All I would do is just walk up while I see them working and I say, hey, do you have a card? And then they be like, oh, you got work for me? I potentially may have work later down the road. But just walking up and just seeing them actually work, I knew that they could potentially be someone that I wanted to work with. So sometimes I would just say, hey, who owns this home? And they would tell me who owns the home. I would call and say, hey, is it possible for me to walk this property with you? And you tell me a little bit about the trades that are in here working for you. And most of them would be like, yeah, no problem at all. And so they would come, we would walk the project. They would tell me some of the trades. They would tell me some of the problems that they were having with some of the trades, which is good because now it's like they didn't know I was coming. I was there. And some of the trades you can walk in, some of them are sometimes sitting down on the job, right? So you get to see a lot. So I built relationships that way, just driving through the community, also going to Home Depot, going to Lowe's, and just asking for recommendations. Like, hey, I'm looking to hire some people, and I want to know, can you tell me some of the, contractors that are coming here, like maybe 2 or 3 times a week that are, buying things. I'm not, asking you to give me a list of anything. And so I started building relationship with the customer service desk, at those 2 locations, and even going to the wholesale places where people may be buying lumber, they may be buying tile, they may be buying fixtures, just going out and just building relationships with those individuals. And then going to a lot of networking events, going to a lot of networking events. Hey, what do you do? Oh, I'm a plumber. Oh, do you have a card? So those are some of the ways that we went out. Now, some of the questions that I normally ask these individuals: how many jobs have you completed? Um, do you sign mechanical liens? Do you release when you get paid? Right. And then I started doing my due diligence to make sure that they're not notorious for filing liens against a home. Right. And so you can go to the city and you can find that information out. So I normally just go to the county and say, hey, I'm looking to work with this individual. Are they notorious for filing bogus mechanical liens against properties and stuff? And believe it or not, the city will tell you a lot about contractors and who to stay away from and who not to do business with. Because again, you want to know who the individual is. And then I ask them for referrals. So they normally, they'll say, hey, well, I did this house, I did that house. And I say, hey, can you call them? They'd be like, oh, do you want their number? No, I want you to call them right here in front of me. So I have them call me. So now they can't prep the homeowner for what I'm about to ask them, right? Call them right here on the spot. Hey, did you do anything with Joe Blow? And they'd be like, yeah, he was here, but he may have showed up late a couple times. You can learn out a lot. And then the last thing that I normally ask them for is that they normally have a construction account. And I say, hey, is it possible for me to see what's in your construction account? Because again, if the GC or even the mechanical person is having problems, their bank account is actually going to show it, right? And so I don't want to be dealing with someone that may be taking my money and using it for something else. So a lot of them will be like, yeah, no problem. You can actually see it. So I'll have them, we'll go maybe like to Office Depot or something, and I'll just have them print out their last statement so I can see if they're in good standing. And a lot of people like, well, Avriel, that's you're invading on their privacy, right? And so again, when people are really doing business and they're doing business the correct way, if it's a construction account where they were receiving funds to actually buy things, they won't have problems showing you that. And I've never had a problem. I think maybe I take that back. I had one person be like, I'm not showing you that. Okay, well, you're not the person to work with me. So those are things that I do. I can't tell you what to do, But I do that just to protect myself because there's so many horror stories out here about contractors and GCs not paying other contractors. So I just make sure I do my due diligence because again, I'm using private investors' money. I'm not using the bank's money, right? And so even when you're using the bank's money, you still have to make sure because you're responsible. You're ultimately responsible for this. So those are some
Mhm.
of the things that I do.
Okay, okay, yeah. You know what? That last one, uh, when I was in this, well, I'm sort of still in the single family space periodically. I still look at deals to, add to my portfolio,
Hmm.
but I've used a lot of those same tricks. One of the ones that I used, I'd go to Home Depot. I literally have done this several times. Go to Home Depot, sat in the parking lot from 6 a.m. when they open until about 8 a.m. and I see who comes there. They come in. I'll walk right in. I'll ask them, "Hey, what job are you working on? What are you doing? Blah blah blah. You got a card?" Kind of like you're saying. And the other thing that I definitely did all the time is that, you know, almost any street that you turn on in the Philadelphia area, there's a van there. There's a van doing work on somebody's house. I'll walk right up to the house, knock on the door, boom. I see what they're doing. I go in there and I want to see their work because that's the thing that I need to be comfortable with. I need to see your work, and I also want to thank you for bringing up that part about actually talking to the homeowner. That's a new one. I don't think I've heard of that one yet, but that's good. So there you go. You fix and flippers, buy and hold single family investors. You've heard some great tips that Avriel has just given you. So Avriel, I believe you're do you have a coaching program?
I do. So I haven't fully launched it. I did a test. I did a beta test just to see the things that I needed to add, the things that I needed to take away. And so my full on launch is going to be in March 8th, which is my birthday. So I'm going to launch on my birthday. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just putting just anything out, and I want to
Mhm.
make sure that the ones that were inside of the program that did the beta test with me, I wanted to make sure that they gave me their feedback so I could adjust also. So I went through two betas, and it's an 8-week program, and it's walking them from step A all the way to step Z on how to actually fix and flip the scripts that we use, the how we build the relationships. You have the hard money lenders that are in there. They still have access to me. So once a week, I'll come in, I'll answer questions for them. So, yes, that's going to launch on March 8th,
Okay.
2024.
So what led you to coaching? To want to coach?
I had so many people coming to me saying I wanted to fix and flip, right? And so I've never been the one that wanted to coach. That was not my reason for getting into fixing and flipping. I know a lot of times people get into certain things so they can actually start, coaching, but that was never my intentions to coach. And so I've had so many people that were reaching out to me. And so I started doing the 1 hour coaching and the 2 hour coaching, and it became so overwhelming for me. And so I was like, okay, there's a need, right? So when you have 16 calls in one day and you have to be like, oh, whoa, 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 let me back up off of this because this is my whole entire day inside of coaching, right? And so it's not much that I can teach you in a 1 hour or a 2 hour class. And so my whole thing was like, let me figure out what I need to do. So I went into prayer and I said, God, if this is what you want me to do, send me a sign. And then that's when my calendar got full with those 16 people because I'm like, hey, I'm offering a 1 hour coaching. And if you want to sign up, here's the link. And when I sent it out, it went crazy. I was like, okay, that was not the right thing to do. Yeah, that was not it. So I found out there was a need, and so that was the only reason that I got into coaching. But it was never my, I guess, my dream to
Hmm.
coach. But because there's a need, I'm going to be obedient. And whoever needs me, I'm going to be there for them because I know how it started out for me, not knowing where to get started. I wanted to get into real estate, but I didn't know where to get started. And so having that coach, he was able to guide me through the process. It was a seamless process. Although we had a few hiccups, it wasn't anything major. So
Okay.
me thinking that if I had to did it by myself, it probably would have been a disaster, right? Because I didn't know where to go, I didn't know who to talk to, I didn't know how to get supplies, I didn't know how to vet contractors, I didn't know how to do any of that. I didn't know that trades were not supposed to be on there on top of each other because I would have had HVAC people in there, the plumbing people in there at the same time, and you can't have them in there at the same time. So there are things that you learn when you have a coach. And I know everybody calls themselves a guru, but I always tell people that just follow the person, just watch
Mhm.
what they're doing. Um, and you'll know if that person is for you. But my vision is to help individuals that want to be in real estate, and that's why I started my coaching program.
Okay. All right. Um, just if you can kind of briefly tell me a little bit about your conference that you recently had.
So I'm trying to do without getting emotional. So before when I first started with real estate, I had a dream that I had put on a conference. And I was like, there's no way. I don't like talking in front of people. There's no way I'm getting on no stage. There's no way I'm putting together no conference. And again, it was God came to me and he was like, I need you to get out of your way and I need you to do this. And so for me, I had imposter syndrome. Nobody's going to show
Yes.
up, nobody's going to support me. I'm very new to this. I'm not going to be able to find sponsors because everyone that I had talked to, that I was asking to help me and to be a sponsor, because I've never done the event for, and I did it myself. I didn't have an event planner coming in because my uncle always taught me you do things yourself first so you can see how much time it's going to take, so people can't pull wool over your eyes and say, oh, it took me 5 hours to do this. When you've already done it, you know how many hours it may take you to actually do a certain thing. And so um, I had this young lady that I reached out to her for sponsorship, and she told me, your first conference is going to be a nightmare because you have to do everything on your own. No one believes in your dream, and nobody's going to fund your dream. So you need to do your own conference first to show that you can actually put on a conference and then go look for sponsors. And I was like, oh, she can't know what she's talking about. Ain't no way. All these people doing conferences out here. And I found out that it is so true. People want to see you put on your own conference first before you go out here and look for sponsors. And so I did it out of obedience. I did it because God told me to do it. It wasn't like I was trying to, because conferences are not money makers.
Yeah.
Although, contrary to what people think, conferences are not money makers. Sometimes you
Hmm.
just break even coming
Hmm.
out of a conference. And so for me, I wanted to show people that regardless of what people tell you, you can't do. I proved them that I could, right? There were so many people, even people around me, they were like, you just need to cancel. Because I had so many things going wrong. Maybe my third month away from the conference, so many things were going wrong. My event space got shut down because I had an inspection done because I wanted to make sure that I could get the insurance, because if anybody got hurt, I didn't want to be sued for the event. So people don't do people like insurance. I was like, yeah, insurance for a conference. You got to have insurance for a conference, right? And so they were like, yeah, you're just being over the top. You don't need insurance. I was like, no, I need insurance. And so when I had the inspection, the event space got shut down because the electrical panel was outdated. So they told me that if I had a plugged up the DJ equipment to that, it could have been catastrophic, right? People could have lost their lives. So they shut the event space down. So it pushed me in a whirlwind of emotions. I'm like, oh my God, I'm 3 months out. Where am I going to find a conference space? So I'm calling all around trying to find a conference space. And I ended up pushing my date back to August. But I remember God coming to me and telling me, this is principles over profit. Someone needs this conference. And so I need you to continue pushing. Finally found an event space, and there were 4 individuals that came and said, I was on the verge of just losing everything, but I came in here and your tax person taught me something that I did not know when it came to fixing and flipping, because fixing and flipping is active income and they were already making good money. So it could have been catastrophic for them because they would have had to pay so much money out because they were making decent money because they were in IT. They were making good money. And to actually do the fix and flip, it would have just added on. So I knew at that point in time, I did the conference just for those 4 people. So that's how my conference came to life. And so, yeah.
That is awesome. Awesome story. Um, do you still keep in touch with any of your comrades or military friends that while you were in?
I do. I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when speaking with those comrades who are not in real estate, does your conversations kind of veer towards real estate?
Well, a lot of them reach out to me because of real estate, believe it or not.
Okay.
So a lot of them follow me on social media. I'm very active on social media. So a lot of them follow me on social media and they were like, I cannot believe, because you were this quiet person and now you're just out here and you're just like all over social media. Every time I turn my phone on, you're on social media. And so a lot of times just having a conversation with them, they didn't know certain things, right? And so again, the military teaches you when you get out of the military to go find another job. So they don't teach entrepreneurship in the military. So a lot of my comrades come to me on how to get started as an entrepreneur. Like,
Okay.
even if I don't want to be a real estate investor, how can I just start with building a business and just going from there? So a lot of times, so those are the conversation. But I've I don't think that I've had a conversation with anyone that I served with that wasn't centered around real estate, to be honest.
Okay. All right. One last question regarding this. How do you get back to the military community?
So for me right now, I'm next month I start teaching classes. So I'm going to be teaching them because now I'm an agent. I'm teaching them on how to use their VA loan, right? Because a lot of them with my lender, a lot of them don't know how to use the VA loan. And
Mhm.
so I want to start teaching classes to show them things that they can do with their VA loan if they decide that they want to be a first time homeowner or if they want to do investments. So I hadn't decided on anything else that I could do right now to really give back. Um, for me, I wanted to doing Thanksgiving and Christmas, I wanted to go and feed under my, company or whatever. But it was so hard because they were already doing their own thing. So I have to find some type of unique way to actually give back to them because,
Mhm.
coming out of the military, you kind of forget like they're a family now. And now that you're on the outside, you have to find a way to get back into the family. So I have to find a way to get back into the family and actually to give back. So I'm working on that. That's going to be one of my goals for 2024.
Okay. All right. So, Avriel, before you became this very successful person, I see it in front of me. Give our listeners um, a little bit of your backstory. Like, we pretty much know you grew up in Brooklyn and how your upbringing, but what in your past shifted your mindset into becoming the person you are today?
So I think I was born in Brooklyn, but I grew up in South Carolina. So my mom moved us to South Carolina when I was 2 and my sister was born. And I think what shifted for me was that I wanted time freedom, right?
Okay.
And I knew that I couldn't have time freedom by being tied to a clock. So I think what shifted for me is that I started reading more books. I started to do a lot of personal development. I started to work on my mindset every day.
Yeah.
Started hanging out with people that didn't believe that things were possible. And so I tell people, get around people that are doing the things that you want to do. And so that was the shift for me. And so that was one of my goals for 2024 is build a board of directors. And on this board of directors are people that I want to be around in 2024 that are doing things at a higher level than I am doing, so I can actually learn from them. And so maybe we can collaborate sometime in 2024 or 2025. But that's where the shift came in. I wanted better for myself and I wanted time freedom and I didn't want to be tied to a clock. So that is where it clicked for me, because for me, being successful is being able to spend time with my mother that I take
Mhm.
care of, being able to travel when I want to travel, not having to ask for permission to be off, and just being able just to, if I don't want to work today, I don't have to work today. So those are some of the things that I wanted to do. And I knew that I had to shift my mindset. I had to work on my personal development and I had to time block. And yeah, that's what happened to me. So I just started reading more, to be honest.
Okay. All right. As we come to the end of this podcast, I just have like a one other question to ask you. And that question is, what strategies would you recommend to a beginner that has led to some of your success?
So some of the strategies is I would say get in rooms where there are like-minded individuals. So get around people that are doing the things that you want to do. Some of the, I guess, strategies that I use when I wanted to be in this space is that I learned as much as I could. So I paid for education, I paid for mentorship, and people oftentimes frowned upon education and mentorship, but it's important. It's very important. So if I can't stress anything else to you, is get around like-minded individuals, get you a coach, pay for some education, and I tell you, you can definitely see your life change with those things. So those would be the strategies that I tell them, because if they get a coach, that coach is going to help them navigate through the charted waters when things happen. And so invest in yourself. Just invest in yourself. That's all I keep telling people. Invest in yourself. I invest a lot of money in myself every year. I'm still learning.
Oh, I'm right there with you. Trust me, I invest a lot of money into myself, into my education, into going to conferences, and like you're saying, getting in the room, being around like-minded individuals, and you know, I'll just say this real quick, just for my listeners. There's that saying that if you're around five broke friends, you'll be the sixth. You need to definitely be around people who can uplift and motivate you to move forward. Being around those people, it just has such a positive effect on your life and the energy that's around you.
Absolutely.
I personally have been around this one group of people for a little bit of time now, and I just realized, over the last few years that this group of people were not my group of people that I needed to be around. It felt like when I'm around them, it drains on my energy. So please be around those people who can uplift and move you forward to where you want to be in your purpose.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Well, Avriel, it has been a blast having you as our guest today. As we close out, tell our listeners where we can learn more about you, get in touch with you, and learn about all the fabulous things you have going on right now.
Okay. So once again, thank you for having me. You can find me on social media, Avriel DuVerney, on all social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And I look forward to hearing from you. And thank you again for having me.
Sure, you're welcome. Awesome. Again, Avriel, I want to thank you for your time today and all the wisdom you have given to my listeners. It's greatly appreciated. And I want to thank you, our fans, for tuning in to another Service to Syndication Real Estate podcast, where we provide you the value to you and your investing business. Please tune in to our next episode where we will interview another fantastic investing professional. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Service to Syndication podcast. We want you to know that we love and appreciate your support, and we are grateful about being a part of your journey to becoming a successful real estate entrepreneur. Please share this episode with a friend who you think will get a lot out of what you just heard. Send it to someone who you know is interested in real estate and dreams of having it all and being the best they can be in all areas of life. And if this was really valuable, share it on your social media stories and timelines. Thank you for watching and listening. Now go be great.